Hello, I'm Tobias Silver, the Sump Addict, and this wonderful hole in the ground is the Gothic Downstream Sump in a Gothic. We're back here again, and if you've watched my previous video on how fabulous of a dive this is and how wonderfully pleasant, you will notice how it is a bit less pleasant at the moment. Now, that's not because of the sump, it's not the sump's fault. It is because, unlike usual, I am not in front. So, in general with the sump, because I know it quite well, I tend to lead, I tend to be in front. But in this case, as a special treat to my dive buddy, and also so that he can learn what certain things look like, we sent him in front. So, he is off trying currently. We're at the restriction at the moment, and he's off currently inside the restriction, probably at the end of it by now, and he is figuring out what it looks like. As you can see by the visibility, he's probably not doing very well at figuring it out. It's not the best visibility at the moment. Now, as we look here, you see that orange line there. Now, as I arrived at this orange line, Piotr was in front of me, my dive buddy, and he had gone all the way through. Now, I looked at this piece of orange line, and I thought it was going to kill me. It was a very obvious entanglement hazard. It went diagonally across the passage. I don't know if it was laid that way or if it drifted that way, but either way, as it was right there, it was too dangerous. It was likely going to get entangled on the way in, and it's almost certainly going to get entangled on the way out with both of us. So I had to make the decision of whether or not I cut it. Now, I already cut it by this point, but just to kind of talk through the reasoning that happened in my head, I knew that Piotr was ahead front of me. I knew that he probably followed that line. So cutting that line would remove his guideline. So that was the against. The reason why I decided anyway it was still worth cutting was, one, it was the entanglement hazard. It was a fairly big hazard. Like, on the way out, this is almost certainly gonna catch both of us, if not just me. So it needed to go. There was no question about that. And the other reason that allowed me to do it is because I am doing a working dive. I'm relining beyond the restriction. I am going to be bringing a very large reel of line, laying the line as I go, directly to him. Now, if this wasn't the case, I wouldn't have cut the line. I would have actually probably considered turning around and hoping that Piotr had figured out that I had turned around, because I didn't like that bit of line. But in this case, this is how it happened. It was very okay, and in fact, that would have been the right decision. It was the right decision. Because unbeknownst to me, Piotr has managed to get to the end of the restriction, and he can't find his way out. The visibility is very, very, very poor, and he is a bit worried, which is fair enough. If you've just gone to beyond a restriction and you're looking around and you cannot see head or tail, you cannot work out which way to go, that is quite a worrying scenario. But, you know, he's there, and he's done the right thing as well. He's waiting for me, because I know my way. So, as he's sitting there waiting, we're on big cylinders, we've got tons of gas. We're on a pair of 12s, and I can usually do this dive in a pair of 7s, so we have all the gas in the world. I'm sitting here, just bimbling away, tying in the first tie-off into the line, the main blue line where it ends. And I am going to slowly push my line across, tying lots and lots of belays. Now, the reason I'm tying lots of belays is because this kind of restriction goes round to the left and up. So, and because we're on the outside of the corner, I need to make sure that I haven't got something for the line to kind of wrap around. So I need to make sure it's just tied off a lot, because we're changing direction slowly. So as I continue on, I'm kind of slowly pushing my reel. I get a lovely sight in a couple of seconds. Someone who is very pleased to see me. So I turn on my spotlight because my washes are running a little low. I forgot to charge them the night before. And they were just charged enough to show like the full, even if they were only about half charged. So as I'm going, I'm slowly pulling that orange line out. And then I see another torch. So this goes, okay, cool. I now have reunited with my dive buddy. We're all good. And I am tying up the line, and he is like taking it off me. Now, he's probably still a little worried. I don't know exactly what's going on in his head, but he gives me a signal here that he wants to turn around. So you can't see it because my GoPro's a little high, but I signal back, you know, okay, you leave. So as he is kind of doing that, I kind of push past him with the blue reel. We had, you know, we had not said that we were team diving this dive, and general me and Piotr's default is solo diving together, i.e. if one of us has a problem, that's it, just we leave. I have said that to him many times, that just if you have a problem, leave, don't worry about me, I'll figure myself out. And that is an interesting thing that we'll get onto in a minute. So as I push past with the big reel, I am looking for tie-offs. Now I spot a really nice one. I don't know if you can see it on here, but you can kind of see this. There's this absolutely fantastic just hole that is a perfect pull-through tie-off. So I don't think I've done it yet. But yeah, as I do turn around at some point, and I do notice that Piotr hasn't left. So my immediate thought is, okay, he probably doesn't know where he's going. So I put an arrow in, and this is something that we discussed we wanted to do. Just before the restriction, I wanted to put an arrow in so that people knew, because in bad visibility, as you are approaching this restriction on the way out again, it just looks like the line goes into the wall. It is very, very disconcerting, and an arrow would very much help people go, oh, actually, no, this is the right way, and it would stop the kind of slight panic of, am I going the right way? Which is always a bit of a worry sometimes. So as I continue on, I'm kind of back focused to doing this little pull through here. You can see it a little bit. It's a nice little arch. And I am taking a zip tie to clip the line in here to like kind of tie it off more permanently. Now you can do this the old-fashioned way by passing the reel through the loop, but in this case, because I'm already making what is a semi-permanent tie-off, I am just using a zip tie and around the two pieces of line just to kind of effectively girth hitch it to the to this kind of archway. Now, internally, I am a tad confused because I still see these orange gloves next to me. So I see Piotr still being there after saying he wanted to turn around. Now, after the end of the dive, we kind of discussed this, and it turns out basically he was a bit worried because he couldn't find his way out, and he was very relieved to see me with a big reel, and that kind of calmed him down enough to consider staying. And that's fair enough. If it is a worry that is happening and the worry goes away, then on far of the kind of, as I'm concerned with the incident pit, you have taken a problem that needs managing, and you have managed it, and you're back to normal operation again. So long as we continue using our air margin sensibly and we don't have any extra problems, then it's potentially fine to continue on. The other side of it is that sometimes in cave diving, a sign to turn is a good time to turn. So you do have to kind of manage these things and compare them. So right now we're kind of messing about with the line, and I'm making sure that Piotr's pointing out it's a little bit loose, so I do tie a little circular knot in it to kind of pull it tight again. I do actually come back on the second dive, which we will see in a minute. There is 2 dives in this video, and fix it. But the other thing to do is to get around this absolutely massive line trap. So just beyond this end of this restriction, there is what I tend to refer to as the mother of all line traps. There is a very, very small slot underneath a massive boulder that the line for the last however many years has just been trapped underneath. And you have to kind of know where to go to get round it and pull out the trap, because it is such a large line trap. So as I'm kind of pulling this reel along, I am desperately looking around for a tie-off. That's the big line trap there. You see that massive gap underneath. I even have this second of, oh, do I just trap it again? Because I couldn't find a single tie-off. So I'm slowly pushing past this thing, and I'm making sure to leave some slack in case I see a nice tie-off or a nice rock beyond that I can take. Now, I just missed that lovely tie-off there. However, my buddy does not. So I push on looking for a nice big rock that I can bring back to sit there. And I kind of find some nice big rocks over here. And as I put this down, I feel a kind of tug on my fin. And I go, oh, okay. I don't think the tug has happened yet. But in a second, I feel a tug on my fin. And I go, ooh, Yo, Piotr wants my attention. What's happening here? There's my nice big rock I found for this tie-off. I think I do this tie-off. Yeah, I do this tie-off first. So as I am tying this off, I kind of sit there with a Snoopy. I'm kind of sorting this out. And Piotr grabs my fin. I kind of turn around to him. And then he points out this nice little tie-off up here, which is a lovely little kind of downward shoot. Now, and then I do the good old-fashioned, should we call it prusik, where I just loop it around as many times as I physically can to just add friction, and then stick a zip tie on it so that it's all looped together. I even do a mild clove hitch at the beginning as well, because I was feeling extra fancy. So as this tie-off goes in, we now have a nice tie-off around the massive line trap, which was the big thing I wanted to do. I'm actually now looking at this, seeing there may even be a potentially slightly better way to loop it, slightly above. But I think I'll probably try and use a Snoopy over there, and then girth hitch more Snoopies into that to kind of add as a backup for if that little prusik kind of falls off. So as I'm kind of continuing, I head back to that nice big rock that I just found, and the visibility is poor. So I decide that we're probably not going to get much further than this. We've had a couple of little things happen. We had the line trap in the not the line trap, sorry, the like cross diagonal line in the restriction that gave me pause, and I spent quite a while in that restriction. And obviously Piotr's turnaround slash not turnaround slash I don't know really confusion also kind of on my mind was like, okay, maybe we should consider turning this early. So let's let a little bit of line out to do some loops. And then I Snoopy the reel to the rock so that I can come back to it later. And that is just so that on the next dive I'm here, I can go straight to the end of the restriction, grab the reel and just go. So there you see me kind of plopping the reel down and snooping it and turning around to exit. Now, to see a totally different character of this sump, this was about 3 weeks after, and look at how gorgeous the visibility is. So this time I'm back. This time I'm doing the line myself. Piotr couldn't make it this time, so I'm coming back, and Daisy, my partner, is acting as surface support. Now, the only reason she's doing that is because she's around and she hasn't got anything better to do. Now, as we kind of come along, we go through to the first air bell, and I have a little mess about with the arrow because I want the line to be nice and solid. Now, that's my pink line, the line that goes off towards the upstream connection, and around the corner is is the rest of the downstream. There is a nice little through dive you can do there if you've only got a pair of threes. Now, the water is incredibly low on this dive. It's the UK has been going through quite a serious drought, and this was right at the peak of the drought. So it was still not technically over the drought, but it's pretty close now. So I have to effectively throw myself over this little rock, which normally I can very helpfully glide across. And I kind of continue into Gothic Sump. Now I'm going to make a nice little cut to when I get to before the restriction again, because as much as this is a fantastic visibility, it's not the most important in the world. Oh wait, no, I show Shed Dragger first. Now this is the passage off to Shed Dragger, and it is what's referred to as a hand jump. So it's a jump that's long enough that when you reach the end of the line, if you reach your hand forward, you will find the rest of the line. This is a UK thing. It's something I personally don't like, but it's something that has been, other cave divers in the UK are fine with, and as far as the CDG is concerned, it's fine. I believe. I may be wrong about that, but in general, it's just it's something I see a fair amount. And the main reason is that we want to kind of disincentivize people from going to Shed Dragger because it is muddy, it is horrible, and it completely ruins the viz in the entire passage. So what I'm doing there is I'm putting in a second arrow so that it's marked as a jump. Now, that's mainly because it's very easy to miss it. So as I can continue on, I now reach the restriction, and you see the line has changed colour. That's because this is where the line multiplies, and this is something that's needed to be gone for a while. So what I do is I take the old line, and I cut it. There's a nice snip, and I snip it again. I snip it again, and what I was doing was cutting up the line into small little pieces. Now this is a method we use, and we'll get back to it because I do it a little bit later on. But for this line I just give up and I start looping it around itself on my hand. Now this line obviously is old line, is not well connected, and has been superseded by the blue line, but it's taken a while for people to kind of figure, like, no one's removed it yet. So what I am doing is I am slowly kind of sorting stuff out. I saw a nice little bit to the side there that was interesting, that may be worth checking out at a later date. And then I look around and just cut it. See, it's nicely tied in there. I don't want to remove that tie-in, so I'm just cutting it just before. And what I'm doing is I'm just chucking the line down to the side temporarily for me to take on the way back out again. So I find the other end of the line, I give it a yank, see if it comes out. It doesn't, so I cut it. And I just pull the line back because I know it's no longer needed. So all this line kind of comes out, and I just kind of twist it up and just drop it down here for me to take on the way back out again. So we continue on into the restriction with a little bit of line management. Now here I am at the restriction. I am kind of slowly pushing my way through, and this just shows how much nicer the visibility is compared to the last time we went through it. It is so lovely, and even me dragging my way through with a pair of 12s, it is rather pretty. The other thing you see is how many tie-offs I've done. So there's a little rock there, there's another rock literally less than a metre beyond it, and then less than a metre beyond that there's yet another rock. And the reason I've done that, I'm also adding a second rock in this in-between as well to kind of balance it even more, is because of this slow steady turn. And this way you get this nice little kind of combination here. Now there is a fantastic tie-off there that isn't being used, and it was originally where the main line was tied off to, but the yellow line that was tied into it actually removed that, which was really frustrating. And I haven't had time to redo it. Now, as you can see here, we have one of my big reels there, and actually the other one is still tied in. And this old orange line. Now this old orange line is potentially dangerous now. It's beyond the restriction, and it's not something I particularly want to take out. So we use another method. We take the scissors and we slowly cut it into small pieces that are only maybe 20-30 centimeters long. And the reason we do that is you can't really get entangled on those pieces at all, and the river will slowly wash them out. It means that no one has to risk the potential entanglement of taking them out through that restriction, and they can just be kind of left in a useless state. Some cases it may be best to physically remove line. With the blue line beyond, I am actually going to physically remove it, but in this case I deem it as potentially high risk to take it through the restriction. So I'm just cutting it into lots of little pieces, and it will slowly drift out. Now I am going to continue pushing this kind of cutting this up. It does take a while to cut this all up, and this is all gas I'm using, so it's something to consider in terms of your methodology. But as I'm slowly going, I will then finally have cut this lot up, and I will push on to find the next little bit of line and continue. So you can see these tiny little pieces drifting. They will slowly drift out through the downstream, and that effectively clears them. But none of those chunks are big enough to cause a loop or an entanglement or anything. Now here we see two lines. We see the brown line, which is the old line, and we see this very fluorescent blue line, which is the line I am laying. And the reason I haven't removed the blue line, the brown line, is because I'm still following it to lay. Now this slightly goes out the window because I spot something interesting, but you can see this absolutely massive line trap here, And the blue line still kind of goes under it, but the blue line is close enough to the line trap with that nice tie-off that in fact actually you can get away with it, because you can pull it out with your hand as you're following. So that's what I would refer to as a minor line trap. It's not a serious problem, but it is definitely a thing to be aware of. As I said kind of earlier with this like line laying lark, is you have to react to what the cave gives you. It's all very well knowing how to lay perfect line, but if the sump gives you no belays, or the sump gives you corners that have no real way of connecting to it, or it gives you certain restrictions where you're going to have to either run line through a trap or run line through a hole, or some sort of thing where you have to break contact, then that's what you have to deal with. There are certain passages where it's impossible to lay good line. You can only lay okay line, and you have to just kind of deal with that. There are certain bits of passages where I'm considering banging steel anchors into little hooks, because there are so little tie-offs. And there are certain passages where I considered doing that, gave it a go, and then the rock was too flaky, so I couldn't even do that. So you have to give what the cave deals, and sometimes that requires things like drop leads. It requires all sorts of other preparations, but you only learn that after you've given all the others a go. So as we continue on, I am slowly kind of spinning this reel and laying the line and looking for belay rocks. There's quite a nice one down there I've just spotted. So I pop down to find that nice big belay rock and then tie off to it and continue on. As I am kind of continuing, I am looking at the old brown line and roughly trying to follow it. But you can get a little task loaded sometimes and not pay too much attention to the old line. So as I'm going, I kind of look dead forward and go, it doesn't end here, does it? And then, I've gone under a little undercut. So as I kind of head up, I then see the like thin brown line that follows up into the chimney, the first chimney, and I kind of have a little moment of, there's ongoing passage in front of me. I am going to find a nice tie off. There's a nice big rock here. I'm going to tie off, and I am going to have a little look at this new passage. Because I've not done it before, and I've not ever noticed it, because I always followed the line up the chimney, and I quite enjoy the chimney. I know there are multiple ways through the chimney, but I usually do the one that's the next layer up if I'm not doing the mainline one. Or the plateau at the top, which is where the main line goes. So what I've decided to do with this is I've decided to kind of tie this off to a nice big rock and then continue and see how far it goes. It doesn't go very far so far, but it looks like it's still onward going. So I'm going to leave my reel there, come back with the other reel, continue doing the main line, and push it even further and see if there's potentially more cave beyond here. Because there is a lot of passage. You can see that onward kind of going shape here. So as I continue along, I kind of am looking around for more belays. I want a little bit more kind of general belays around here, because there's going to be other lines tied into it, so it's going to be pulled a little bit more. And I'm just kind of thinking of this kind of thing. There's also a couple really nice big ones. And as you can see, this passage is still kind of ongoing. Like, there's this little corner here, but if I look to the right, you can see there's more passage there. So I think this is a good time to permanent tie off. So I'm just having a look around for any proper nice permanent tie offs. I decide there's kind of a fairly okay one around here. So I kind of grab this nice chunky rock, Snoopy both the Snoopy the reel to the rock and Snoopy the line to the rock, and that's quite a nice solid tie off for me to return to. I also check my gas as well and go, ooh, I'm not quite at turn point, but I have come to a nice end. So I turn around and leave. Now, as I am leaving, I return back to the restriction here. It's a very, very nice cut, but that was a definite cut of a good, 10 minutes. And I decide to take my other reel out with me. Now, the reason to do this is, one, I want the lead off it, and two, I want to take it off, to replace that lead with some other wheel balancing lead that I have got that is much more low profile, that allows me to still use the like spinning function of the reel and not have to manually spin it like I've been doing. The other thing to see here is you can see how the line is laid and how many tie-offs are used to kind of keep it slowly rotating round. There's also a very minor line trap there, but again, this is one of the things where the passage determines it. There is no real way in here to run it outside the line trap than there is to kind of not become an entanglement hazard. And even here, like I'm pretty sure I decided to move this bit of line and kind of like tie it off to one of these over here because it's like on the edge of becoming a line, like an entanglement hazard. Restrictions in general tend to be difficult to line because you have to balance this, how much of a entanglement hazard versus how much of a line trap is it, so in general it's slightly more tricky. The other thing to look at here is there's this quite significant rub point that you can see the kind of line rubbing across. That's not ideal. I do actually fix that, but I don't think I may have cut that out as I'm busy kind of sorting stuff out. I basically just chuck one of those big rocks over there directly underneath it and tie it in, and then that way it's sitting on top of the tie-off rock rather than rubbing across the top. I also modify this tie-off here for the same reason. I think... Oh no, I do show it. Cool, so I show modifying this tie-off a little bit and also finding all this old line that I had left there for me to grab. So I've done the modifications on that little tie-off, and I grab all of this old line, loop it up, tie a big knot in it so it's nice and solid, and then just keep going. So as I am kind of looping this around my hand, I am also kind of modifying the other one. I really should have lowered the GoPro a little bit on this video. Normally I kind of have it decently raised so that you get good footage of the passage, because I kind of dive a little bit head down looking up. But in this case there's so much going on with my hands that in fact actually it's missing it out. Now here I cut to another bit. So this is the air bell that is beyond the first air bell. It is a temporary air bell, and I spot this as I'm turning around. Now I have never seen this before. This air bell is never low enough to like show that nice little onward bit of passage, and the viz is usually not good enough to show this fairly obvious in this amazing condition, but in general easily missed little bit of side passage. So what I do is I chuck an arrow on the line to remember this for future dives in case I don't ever get another dive at this level of visibility, and I drop the lump of line and my reel, and I decide to do what I refer to as noseying. Now noseying is a little technique I use when I want to see if something goes and I've got a GoPro on my head. So in this case I want to just stick my head in down to my heels, and I keep my feet on the line. So like my fins, I keep them kind of hooked around the line, and I push myself in as far as I can go and have a look. And as you can see from this little footage, I get a decent way in before I feel the line kind of snag my heels. I pull myself out again, but the passage looks very ongoing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back another time and I'm going to check that out. In fact, actually one of my plans for an upcoming weekend of cave diving is to do a Gothic weekend where I explore all these extra leads and line and figure all that stuff out and do multiple dives in here. Rather than my current method, which is at the end of every trip I do a 12-litre dive in Gothic to deal with the line. So yeah, and then here we are, we're nearly at the first air bell and we're nearly out, so I'm going to kind of cut that stuff. You've seen it all before, and I pop up here and there is a nice light there and Daisy, my shore support, or in this case I guess dive base support, to pop up, and I'm a little bit earlier than expected, so she's rather excited, slightly worried, but yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, comment if you wish, and have a lovely rest of your day.